Tyler from Aspire Sports here. I'm going to be giving you my Week 10 waiver wire pickups. This is coming out before the Monday night game, so if there's going to be players, maybe a player gets hurt on Monday night, it won't be included in this video. It's going to be basically all of Sunday. Also, if you need advice on who to add, who to pick up, who to drop, leave it in the comments below. We will answer any questions you have. We're here for you. We're here to help you out. So go ahead and leave it in the comments below and we'll answer your questions. So let's go ahead and talk about injury news first, real quick. Christian McCaffrey, shoulder injury. The football doc, if you don't follow him on Twitter, I highly recommend going and following. He was a doctor for, I believe, the Chargers and can diagnose the injuries. Is really accurate too when he watches replays. So he said that Christian McCaffrey is dealing with an AC joint sprain. He expects him to play this week, but just something to keep your eye on. David Montgomery and David Johnson both ruled out with concussion, so have to clear concussion protocol to play this weekend. Matthew Stafford had a concussion as well, but actually after the game he passed the concussion protocol, so he's good to go. We had Noah Fant, ankle injury. Football doc said high ankle sprain. It's going to swell after the game, so hopefully he's good to go this week, but keep your eye on that as well. Preston Williams carted it off. Foot injury, not sure exactly the severity. Laviska Shenault, hamstring injury was ruled out. Justin Jackson, I don't know what happened. First play of the game, I guess he got hurt. It was a knee injury, I believe, but he was cleared to go back in, just never went. So basically, on all my teams, I have a 0. So hopefully he's okay, but that did not feel good this week. And then Kyle Allen, I'm sure this didn't feel good, but he dislocated his ankle. I watched it real time. It was ugly, and I hope him the best of luck going forward. I hope he has speedy recovery. And Kyle, if you're watching, which obviously you're watching because this is great content, I wish you the best of luck going forward. So let's go ahead and talk about waiver wire ads. These are going to be players that are rostered in less than 50% of leagues. Also, it's really dependent on injuries. I'm kind of going through running back, wide receivers, and talking about my favorites. Basically, the players that are going to be my favorite are going to be at the top of the list. But let's go ahead and talk about the first one. That's going to be Duke Johnson. If David Johnson misses, he's the ad this week. He's rostered right now in 16% of leagues. 40 in 16% of leagues. So it's probably there. And if you can get him, I would definitely try, because if David Johnson doesn't play, he's going to be a bell cow in this offense. Revenge game against Cleveland? Possibly. He's going to obviously see all the work here, see work out of the backfield, and it's just really good offense. So me personally, I like him as an ad this week. Next would be Matt Breida. Hopefully he plays, because this backfield looked terrible with Jordan Howard. He's not good. Let's be honest. I think Matt Breida is going to come in here and he's going to be like the between the 20s kind of guy, and then possibly down by the goal line Jordan Howard gets the ball, but I think he's going to be a solid play as long as Myles Gaskin's out. Tua looked good this week. This offense looked good, and that was really without a running game. And I think he's going to come in here and make this running game pretty decent. So he would be next. Next would be Wayne Gallman. They have a bye week, as you can see here, week 11. So Devontae Freeman didn't play this week. I think it would make the most sense. Now, maybe this doesn't happen, but if Devontae Freeman just sits out this week and then has the bye and is completely 100% ready to go, that would make most sense to me. But hey, I don't run the team. But if he doesn't play, then yes, I think Wayne Gallman obviously is a really good pickup. Look at the weeks basically without Devontae Freeman. He's been pretty good. Even with Devontae Freeman here against Philly, he was still good. So me personally, I think he's a really good ad this week, and he's only rostered right now in 25% of leagues. Next would be J.D. McKissic, and I keep talking about it. J.D. McKissic leads the backfield in touches for this team. They obviously trust him. Had a pretty good week this week, especially in PPR. He had 9 receptions. I believe it was for like 67 yards or something like that. So is seeing the ball, especially with Alex Smith now running this offense, the king of checkdowns, I expect them to be pretty heavily involved. Let's go into the next one, and that's going to be Kalen Ballage. Obviously, this depends on what's going on with Justin Jackson. And they obviously don't trust Joshua Kelly, because Justin Jackson gets hurt in this game, and what happens in this game? We have Kalen Ballage come in and take the snap. So I just think Joshua Kelly's personally droppable. because this week Kalen Ballage had 17 touches, 84 yards, and a touchdown, so they obviously trust him. So he's a fine add if Justin Jackson doesn't play this week. Let's go to the next one, Gus Edwards. Now, apparently Mark Ingram is supposed to come back this week. If he doesn't, I like Gus. He probably jumps the list pretty high. I think he's a really good play this week against New England, who really haven't been that good against the ground this year. And obviously, as we can see, scored in back-to-back weeks, is going to see probably like around 15 touches, I imagine, against New England, probably 12, 15 touches. So, me personally, he's a very good ad as well. Cordarrelle Patterson. I only put him in here because I have no idea if David Montgomery's out this week. He's right now listed as the number 2 on the depth chart. So does that mean he gets the carries? I think so, but this is also a bad offense that I don't like. He's basically a wide receiver, which I guess would benefit him coming out of the backfield. So it all depends on David Montgomery. Next would be Tony Pollard. Now, I wouldn't go and add him off of the waivers. I would add him possibly as a free agent because I'll say this. I watched this game. He looks really good, like really explosive. I think even more explosive than Zeke, honestly. Like he just, when he gets the ball, he looks like he was shot out of cannon. So I think going forward, he's a very good handcuff. And right now, rostered in 35% of leagues, so possibly going to be dropped coming out of the bye with them going on bye this week. So I think that would be a good opportunity when a fantasy manager drops him to add him. And let's go into the wide receivers here next. And this is going to be Curtis Samuel. He's going to be the first one. Past 3 weeks is averaging 18 points per game. Obviously, really good production. And he kind of looks like he's taken on, I would say, kind of like that Debo role, right? Where he's seeing runs out of the backfield, is now has his best receiving game on the season this year. Saw 9 targets, 9 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. So I think he's probably one of the higher ads this week. Only rostered in 29% of leagues. So if you need some wide receiver help or a flex option this week, I think he's a good ad. Next would be Darnell Mooney. Now, yes, the Bears offense doesn't look good. It does not look good. But he did have 11 targets this week, which is obviously a positive. Yes, it wasn't the best week. 5 catches, 43 yards, but 11 targets is something good. Foles threw the ball 52 times this week, so anytime a quarterback throws the ball that much, yes, the receivers are going to see plenty of opportunity, which will lead to fantasy production. And I've talked about him before. I just think he's one of those guys that kind of jumps off the screen. So I think he's an okay ad. Right now, rostered in 14% of leagues. He's a decent flex play, like a low end flex play this week. If you need him, he's going to be there. The next are going to be, I don't know who exactly in this San Francisco receiving core or team to trust, because Ayuk and Kendrick Bourne are both coming back this week. So what happens with Ricky James? I have no idea. But if Kendrick Bourne's available right now, I think he's only rostered in 7% of leagues. I'd probably go out and get him first. And the next would be Jalen Reagor. Now, I don't feel great about this, but I think he's a player that if you're in a deeper league, sure, he's worth a roster spot because this Philly offense is going to get better as the season progresses. And look at these games. These are some pretty good games. And say something happens to Fulgham, right? I think that he's going to be in a good spot to produce. So Jalen Reagor would be a decent ad, a lower end ad. Nelson Agholor, yes, he kind of cooled off these past 2 weeks. 2 catches on 5 targets for 55 yards and a touchdown. Not great, not great by any means, but at least he's scoring a touchdown, right? Touchdowns are incredibly hard to predict, but he did have this little hot spot here, so hopefully he can get things going a little bit more. But he's just kind of somebody I wouldn't really trust. I'd play him as like a flex player, but I wouldn't go out and try to add him on waivers. I would wait until waivers is over and then try to pick him up if you need like a flex play this week. Next would be Tim Patrick. Now he's kind of like Jalen Reagor. I wouldn't go out and just add him on waivers. I would wait till it ends and then pick him up. Yes, Jerry Jeudy has looked like the wide receiver 1 now. Maybe Tim Patrick, I got to mention him here because he's my guy, but maybe he's not the wide receiver 1. But at least he did have 9 targets, so that's a positive. And they play the Raiders next week, so a decent matchup. And let's go into the tight ends. So tight ends, I believe that Austin Hooper honestly has pretty good value going forward for the season, rest of season value. As we can see in these games, he's averaging 7 targets in these 3 games when he was healthy. 7 targets, 5 catches, and I believe it's 47 yards what it comes out to be. So, I mean, that's pretty good tight end production, right? When you look at the tight end position, it's pretty ugly when you get to the back end of tight end number ones. So that's decent. I honestly think he has pretty good value going forward and plays Houston this upcoming week, which they're giving up the 10th most points to the tight end position. So I think he's a good play. And then we have Tyler Eifert. I'm going to make a case kind of like I made a case for O'Shaughnessy if Eifert was out and Eifert ended up playing. Now that Eifert's in, we have Letton, a new quarterback. Yes, this isn't great, but imagine if he scored a touchdown. Yes, that's going to look even better. These numbers aren't bad for a tight end. Honestly, this isn't bad. He's not Kelsey. He's not going to see 10 catches over 100 yards. But honestly, this is decent tight end production if you need the help. And he's probably going to be available, right? Only rostered in 5% of leagues. So me personally, I think he's a average tight end play this week. I'm not going to make any big case for him. If you have a better option, roll with it. But if you need somebody, I think he's there available and you plug and play and hope for the best. And let's get into the quarterback position. And the first one's going to be Tua. And me personally, Tua is somebody that I would go out and try. He might be my first waiver wire pickup just because I think he has so much potential going forward because he had 7 rushes for 35 yards. Yes, it's not great, but I do expect that number to even increase as the season progresses. I just think he's a really good play. So going forward, rest of the season, I would 100% try to go out and get him. And let's go ahead into the next one here, and that's going to be Teddy Bridgewater. Right now, rostered in 41% of leagues, so he might be there. He does play Tampa Bay this week, though, which is not a great matchup. Yes, we just watched the Saints dismantle him, but I think this game's going to be a little different. I have a little bit of concern. He's not my favorite streaming option, but if you need somebody, he's put up the numbers before, and he's definitely capable, so Teddy Bridgewater. Next would be Nick Foles. Yes, it's ugly. It's not great. But look at this number here. 52 passing attempts. Next week plays Minnesota. If he passes the ball 52 times again, yes, I do think he has a pretty good fantasy day. So I think that he's a decent play this week if you need a quarterback, if you need to stream the position. And the last person would be Drew Lock. Drew Lock had a pretty good fantasy day. The past couple weeks have been pretty decent. This week it's the Raiders the Raiders aren't terrible, but I do think that they're beatable, and I think that Drew Lock has plenty of good receiving options out here. The first half didn't look great. The second half looked better. In garbage time, hey, maybe he just needs some garbage time again. Rostered in 20% of leagues, so it's probably there. I'd probably go Foles over him this week. And let's just go ahead and talk about, real quick, some streaming options for defenses. First would be New Orleans. They get to play San Francisco this week at home. We just saw what they did to the Bucs. Get an injury-depleted team in San Francisco with Nick Mullins. Yes, I like them. Next would be Green Bay. Letton goes on the road against Green Bay, so me personally, I like Green Bay. And then the last one would be the Philadelphia defense versus New York Giants. And yes, if you need a defense, I think that they're in a decent spot to have a decent fantasy day. So with that being said, that's all. A lot of players to kind of cover there. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them in the chat. We will be live tomorrow night. Well, on Monday, I guess when you're watching this. Monday night from 7:30 to 8:30 discussing any questions that you have, discussing the game, outlook for fantasy players, whatever it may be. So if you want to join us, that's when we're live. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.